listen, I don't want to give any promotion to another podcast, but on a unnamed podcast, which apparently David Axelrod coincidentally appeared, Eric Holder had something fairly interesting to say about Edward Snowden. Now, before people, seem to be making quite a bit of this, and I frankly think that this is a function of, and when this book comes out, we're going to have him on, this Bravehearts book written by Mark Hertsgaard. Apparently he put out an article that was adapted from the book, which describes how Thomas Drake, and we had Drake on this program a while back with Jocelyn Raddick, his lawyer, how he went through all these proper channels that a whistleblower is supposed to go to. All right, I want you to keep this in mind when you hear Holder. And that the entire process of a whistleblower was completely corrupted. Drake ended up getting charged with 10 felony counts of espionage. Doug, as we talk about people who get
classified information.
Yeah. The charges fell apart before trial. He lost his family. He lost his job. He ended up working in an Apple store. Basically, what he was doing was blowing the whistle on a program that was a complete boondoggle. Incredibly expensive program, ostensibly a national security program that was just garbage. In fact, when he got to Congress people, they ended up shutting it down. So his whistleblowing was validated. Starting to see a pattern here? Yet the charges remained, and he was ruined. His life was destroyed. So for Edward Snowden to be aware of this, which surely he was, the idea that there was any path forward to blow the whistle on information that even now Eric Holder on this, even Eric Holder admits was a public service to disclose. The idea that any rational human being would subject themselves to this whistleblower system is a joke. Here is Eric Holder on David Axelrod's podcast earlier this week.
At a time of war and at a time of terrorism. And so you had to deal with some very freighted issues about what the president's authority was and tools to fight that, be it at the NSA, use of drones and so on. We had Edward Snowden here. In fact, Jeff Stone from the law school, who was on the NSA commission, the president's NSA commission, questioned him. We didn't actually have him here, I should hasten to say.
I was going to say.
He was here. Yes.
The FBI would have liked to have known about that.
Yeah, right. But he Skyped in. How difficult were these issues of that involved civil liberties on the one hand and security on the other? And how do you weigh those things?
Yeah, I thought the president really put it best when he said, simply because we have the ability to do something doesn't necessarily mean that we should. We had the capacity to do a whole range of things under these listening programs. But after a while, I remember sending memos to the president and asking, do we really need to do this given the way in which we are focusing on people's lives and given the return that we were getting, which was not, I think, in any ways substantial. And so I think that, we can certainly argue about the way in which Snowden did what he did, but I think that he actually performed a public service by raising the debate that we engaged in and by the changes that we made. Now, I would say that doing what he did, and the way he did it was inappropriate and illegal. Maybe could have gone to Congress and done these kinds of things. But I think
he would argue that he tried various ways and couldn't. But What should be done with him now?
Well, you know, I mean, I think that he's got to make a decision. You know, he's broken the law in my view. He needs to, you know, get lawyers, come on back and decide see what he wants to do. Go to trial, try to cut a deal. I think there has to be a consequence for what he has done.
Yeah, how about a medal? How about just like, here's a new car? Something like that. Interesting that you wonder about stuff like this. It's not like Axelrod and Eric Holder are like, hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Come on here. I'm going to hit you with some questions that you're going to have no idea I'm going to ask. I suspect that's not the way this went down. I suspect this is an attempt to start to maybe find some mushiness. Right?
Wasn't there something to the effect that before Holder was leaving, that was reported like a year ago that he wanted to have some type of deal with Snowden? Am I not remembering that correctly?
I don't know. I mean, I imagine that there's going to be an attempt to sort of get this off the books.
Definitely.
If I'm Obama and I don't want to leave this to Clinton, it'll be interesting to see if we see more of this coming forward.
You got to reframe it historically as well.
Ex-administration officials coming out with stuff like this, then low-level administration officials, and then, you know, some type of like, I don't know.
I think, yeah, because it's just the way when he first made the revelations. I mean, they were talking. I think Joe Biden agreed with the assessment that he was a high-tech terrorist.
Oh, yeah.
He needs to come home immediately. And then I think partially what happened, too, is when people like, you know, Al Gore and Jimmy Carter, to the extent that they still have kind of sway as elders in the Democratic Party, essentially said he performed public service. And the whole debate just changed. And even as bad a record as Obama's had on this stuff, that if they actually get Snowden home somehow in some type of reasonable manner, the whole legacy will shift entirely. Nobody will remember, I think.
Some people will.
Well, I think as a kind of public perception, it will be very different.
That I think could be true, too. Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.